Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. I am Eric Carroll, obviously. I mean, did I really even have to say that to you guys? I'm sorry. But how are you doing today, and where are you tuning in from? Please, if you're watching this show right now, do me a favor. It is during the week. Most of our guys, especially if you're going through these issues right here, you're probably at work. But if you're one of the ones that's getting to tune in right now, I want you to do a few things for me. Pull out your cell phone. If that's what you're watching, maybe you're on a computer, maybe you're on a Kindle, maybe you're on some other device. I want to ask you, please like, comment, make sure you're getting in the comments. Let us know what is going on in your life. Share and subscribe. When you subscribe, I want you to ding that bell because we are putting a lot of hard work into making this content. And I tell you, it's not about being a big show, guys. It's about making a difference. And why do we need to make a difference? Because it's dad talk, man. Not too many people are talking about dad out there right now. And that's because there is a narrative to protect. The fatherless issue. And, you know, there was something that happened this morning, and it happens to me all the time. I'm not going to lie to you. And it hurts my heart so bad. I go into the bank. And I meet this gentleman, and I know he means well. He's a dad himself. But he started saying, like, what is Dad Talk Studios? What is Dad Talk Today? I'm just not so sure. Like, could you tell me what it is that you do? And I said, sure. I started this podcast because I realized there wasn't many resources out there for men that were going through issues like divorce, that were going through family courts, and just the general stigma altogether. First thing he says to me, well, there is a lot of deadbeat dads out there that don't want anything to do with their kids, or there is a lot of dads out there that aren't trying. They always bring up the deadbeat. You know, I can honestly say in the history of Dad Talk, I've never had a guy that showed up here and said, I don't want to see my kids, or I don't want to be supporting my kids. I've never seen it. And the fact that it was a dad that was saying this back to me. Do you love your kids? Do you take care of your kids? Would you abandon your kids? Would you not support your kids? Are you paying the bills? Are you doing this job so that you can pay for the house that they're in? Why? The second that I talk about the challenges that men face, or I talk about dads, would another dad tell me, there is a lot of deadbeats out there that don't want anything to do with their kids. There are some dads that don't need to be with their kids. And it's, of course, yeah, I could go back with the same old cliche. There's a lot of deadbeat moms too. There's a lot of moms that abandon the home. There's a lot of moms that are on drugs. There's a lot of moms that are out there committing adultery and that are just walking away. But why is it that when we talk about the message of fathers, when we do dad talk, that thing we're not supposed to talk about, why is it that this is what's brought up? And I'll tell you why, and that goes into today's subject. The political system and the courts are not the answer, and they're not, guys. I'm just going to get real for you here, and there's going to be parts of this conversation that a lot of people might not like. That's okay. If you don't like it, go somewhere else, because I got to give you my heart, and I am fighting for these men. I had one father being lost to this system. It's too many. Too many of our guys are dropping like flies, or they're committing suicide, or they're not even being able to be parents at the first place. And dude, they're giving everything they've got in order to be inside of their kids' lives. Go on somewhere with your narrative, because we're going to be bringing the truth here. And if you don't like the truth,
well, let me tell you something, brother.
Then I don't care, because we're going to speak the truth. And that's what it is. Really quick, before we get into that episode, do me a favor. Let me see if I can point to it. There we go. Right there is how you can support this show. If you want us to continue doing what we're doing, there is a lot of hard work that goes into this, guys. And it's David versus Goliath, throwing rocks at people that have machine guns, and that we can't ask for enough help. The more help we've got, the more that we can get this message going out there. And I guarantee you, if it comes in here, we're going to put it back into this program, into this movement, back into you. So we have to ask you for help. Those government funds and all these other things, they're not there for us. We're here for you. We ask for you to be here for us. Down there at the bottom, Cash App, Venmo, Patreon, Dad Talk Today, no spaces. That's a way that you can help out this show. There is also super chats and memberships over there on YouTube, and there's stars and memberships on Facebook. Whatever it is, we've got it for you. Enough of that, man. I just want to get into the show, but I have to do that part. I have to do that part, guys, because if you're going to fight a war, you got to be ready. You got to have the people. You've got to have the strategy. You've got to have the resources. And what has this movement been doing for decades upon decades upon decades? We're going to go into the political system because we're going to get the laws changed. Let me ask you guys, how has that worked out? Well, Eric, we've had a few wins over here. Are guys still going through it? Let me ask you, in those states, are they still getting accused of false allegations? Can they not overturn those laws? How is that narrative against the deadbeat dad changed in any of society right now? Guess what? It hasn't. And it's made its way outside of our country to Canada, to Finland, to Scotland, to Switzerland. Dude, I could go on and on and on. It is a worldwide problem. But why would they attack masculinity like that? Eric, take your tinfoil hat off. It's very easy. And I can describe it to you very quickly. I want you to look at the fatherless statistics. I want you to see the people that are in the juvenile system right now, the mass shooters, the teen pregnancy, the substance abuse. I could go on and on and on. The fatherless statistics, you know why they're that way? Because these kids don't have masculinity, not because of toxic masculinity. Any masculinity might actually help if those are the statistics that we're getting off of it, guys. It is a real war here. And then when we mention dads, well, there's a lot of dads that don't need their kids. There's a lot of dads that walk away from their family. Bull feathers, man. Get that crap away from me. And why am I bringing that up? You know, this show is supposed to be about the political system. The courts are not the answer. This is the main thing, guys, that I get told when I go to political conferences, that there's a lot of dads that don't need that. Let's just wipe this table off real quick. Let's get down to bare bones and let's tell you the truth right here. Why do dads have to go through the family court in the first place? All right. Every time you talk, you know there's going to be these counter arguments. Let's make sure that we get the counter arguments out of the way really quick. Well, there's going to be those dads. We're not talking about those dads. If a dad's going through the system, if he's fighting, if he's showing up, if he's asking to see his kid, that is not a deadbeat dad. That is a dad that's met a dead end. Okay, that's what it is. And then when this system protects that person, that would make him go through the family court system to see his kids in the first place, and you give them the control, and he's got to communicate with that person that knows I have the power. Guess what happens? It's a dead end. And it's so easy to make this narrative against dads. We need to start asking some questions, guys. But I want to tell you, the government, the politicians, they like that narrative just as much. A lot of them are attorneys. Well, Eric, there's some of these politicians that actually might help us. There's some of these attorneys that might actually help us. The same way that I talk about the other thing. Any of the good guys, you know what they're in here doing? Any of the memes that I get criticized for putting up, they're in there liking them too, dude. Yes, your legislators. They know what we're fighting for. And the good ones, you don't have to explain it. The ones that you're constantly having to suck up to and be PC to in order for them to talk to you, they're the ones that love that narrative. Because if they open their eyes, they could see it anywhere in society right now, what these dads are going through. And if they haven't caught it by now, guys, I'm just going to tell you the truth. They're not going to. At what point does this movement say, we've done all of this in the political system? We've had these hearings. We've got all these people to sponsor these bills. Why are we not getting anywhere? And so this year, when session starts, I'm talking to you, Texas. I'm talking to you, Georgia. I'm talking to you, New York and California and everywhere else. Are you going to do the same thing? Because if you continue doing the same thing, what is that called? What I would love to see is what little resources and attention that this movement can give. We actually start getting our people in here and we actually start saying that which needs to be said. Again, I have had the times, dude, where people tell me, Eric, don't speak about dads. They're not sympathetic about dads. They're not sympathetic about fathers. And the second you talk about dads, they're not going to want to talk to you anymore. Well, isn't that a problem? And guess what? When you go by that ideology, you become a part of the problem. You're not the solution. You know what the solution is? When they tell you not to talk about dads, you get in here and you talk about it more. Ladies, I want to talk to you. We got some ladies in this movement that say, look, it's not just dads, it's us too. And guess what? When I fight for dads, when I fight for equality, we're fighting for you too. Because I do feel sorry for some of the ladies that are going through it. And let me tell you why. The bias against men is so bad that it's just been accepted that he's not going to win custody. That if for some reason you lost custody, your ex had some connections, he had some money, he had something that he actually won custody. In the minority of cases, you are looked at as the scum of the earth because you must have done something really, really bad if you won your ex won custody over you and he's a man. The bias against men is what is going to that minority of women and making this system the way it is. So we need you in here cheering to the rooftops and cheering for these guys and telling them to go for equality too, because here's the deal. Equality for fathers is equality for mothers. Equality for mothers and fathers is equality for the children. There is one person that wins every time in this scenario, and it's not the parents, it's not the kids, it's the family courts. They make money off of this every time that you guys say, we're going to go step foot inside of this system. This system is a dead end. This system is a trap. And I want to speak to everybody out there in the movement that thinks that hiring these experts and these attorneys is what's going to get you your kids. It is the perfect little carrot to dangle in front of your face to make you fight, because you do love your kids there. You want to do everything that you can to make sure you are preserving your relationship with your kids. They know that. And they know that you will pay everything you got, even to the point of going homeless, to mortgaging your house, to mortgaging your car. And anybody that says this is the strategy to win in family court, knowing good and well that those courts are a trap, I question it. Those courts are a trap. Now, if you're teaching strategy and you got somebody that's going through there and you mean well, that's one thing. Help them out. And I know that you got to have money to exist as well, guys. But at the same time, if you're saying that these family courts are a problem and you're going to judge somebody because they don't want to step foot inside of that courthouse, you are a part of the problem. If they are not wanting to give everything they've got towards child support, but they can support their kids and they can help raise their kids, you are a part of the problem, not them. We have criticized these guys. If they don't want to just become victims of the system, that something's wrong. Look, man, I think you need to support your kids. I know you need to support your kids. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying not to support your kids at the rate that some of these guys are expected to pay. Today, I was just on here and I heard from a father made $300,000 and he's bringing home $25 a paycheck. It took that much to support those kids. No, his ex doesn't even have to work a job. But then we say, man, stop making it about the money. Stop making it about your ex. Keep the focus on the children. They want you to keep the focus on the children. You know why? Because if you actually tell people the bull doo-doo that you're going through, and we can get this message out to the world, that it might take their system away. They have scared you at every turn not to say the things that I am saying to you right now. And that's why I say, guys, get loud. Get loud. We need you in here. We need you proud. And I tell you, so many of these guys have been broken. They've been beaten down to the point that they think it's never going to happen. They paid the money. They went through that court system. They did everything their attorney told them to, and they still ended up getting screwed. And now they got to go and sit there and watch this guy that hasn't shaved on the screen telling them, we need you to get back in here and get involved. What if your fight had been on the other side? What if we started saying, guys, instead of talking about how to fight inside of the system, how about we talk about how revamping this system? And I'm going to tell you, that starts with us. Because, dude, if we had 1 million of our brothers behind us when this legislation, and we're talking to these politicians, that creates change. But when you're sitting here alone, you don't have any funding, you don't have your guys behind you because they're at work. I'm not trying to throw off on you guys. You're out there. You're the ones that makes this system go around. Let me tell you something. Those family courts depend on you just as much as your kids do, because without you, those family courts don't exist. Those attorneys, those judges, they don't have any jobs. They need you just as bad, Dad, as everybody else does. They're not going to tell you that, but we got to make you feel like a deadbeat and tell you that you're all these different things to keep you going like that hamster on the wheel. Let's take away all your hope. Let's take away all your money. Let's take away your family to the point that you're just as beaten pulp that can't do anything, that can't get throughout their day. And they expect those guys to become grassroots activists. They know good and well you're not going to be able to come grassroots. You can't put your time towards anything or else you're going to lose your license. You're going to go to jail. You have to feed that system in which is doing this to you. And that's why I say we are blessed to have things like Dad Talk Today, where you can come in and say enough is enough. And you know what? These guys are saying what I've been thinking inside of my head for a long time. Do you know how many of these guys have came to me that went through this system 20 or 30 years ago saying, man, I wish I would have had that platform when I was going through it. I was going through it. I was feeling the same things and we didn't have anything like this. Nothing existed. Well, it does now. So let me ask you guys, what are we going to do about it? You don't have to like me. You might not like the way that I'm talking. I might be too excited, or I might not look the way you want, or I might not be saying the things that you want. At the end of the day, do you love your kids? Do you believe this system is rigged? Do you want to see it change? That's all I care about. I go and talk to people every day that I could care less to talk to, but I do it because I believe in this fight. I believe in this fight so much, guys, and nobody can tell me that it can't happen if we put our mind to it and we get in here. Let's talk about the family courts. One of the things that the political system does, I'm going to give you the conversations that we have. And I've told these before. If we go and talk to the politicians, what do they say? Well, let me tell you what's going to happen. Judges are going to be your dead end, okay? You guys need to go educate the judges in order to get something going. I want you guys to sincerely think about that. We, broken parents that are going through this, have to go educate the judges that went to school to learn this, that work in it every single day. You think this outside guy that doesn't have that education, that's not working there every day, is going to be able to speak to a judge and say, hey, judge, look what you've been doing. Stop the abuse. You're asking the abuser to stop the abuse. It's no different when you're talking to the politician. A lot of times their attorneys do. You don't think that they have special interests to take up for? You're crazy. You're crazy. And I don't care what letters beside their name. I don't care if it's red or if it's blue. They all operate the same, guys. It is an establishment that wants to hold you down. And masculinity has been one of the main targets that they have been going after for a very long time. And why? I want you to look. Is it working? What is the grassroots effort that goes to change it? What does it look like right now? It looks pretty pitiful. I've sat back for the past 3 years going around the country trying to observe where did we go wrong and what can we do different. It's working. They made this system to do exactly what it is, and it's working as designed. But it also isolates you. That guy that was beaten down to a pulp, that has no hope, no money left, that's not being able to see his kids. It makes you isolated, and then it makes you think I'm the only one. And because us men, we have pride. We still got to get up. We still got to go work those jobs. We still got to do those things that we do in life because we're still having hope that one day this is going to change. We got to take that guy and expect him to become an activist to change this system. We know better. We know better. Guys, they are laughing at this movement. They are laughing. And so is the opposition. I don't find it funny when guys are getting killed at custody exchanges. I don't find it funny when these guys are sitting out there busting their bones. Dude, I want you to think about it. You remember when I was talking about the other day, where do these broken men go if they need help? That's why Dad Talk today, I think, is so important, because where do they go? Where are the Men's Resources Center? Where is the Men Mental Health Clinic? Where is the Men's Domestic Violence Center? If they are getting hit, who do they call? If they're depressed, who do they call? If they're suicidal, who do they call? They go to the National Suicide Hotline. Do you think those guys are well-versed in family law? Do you think those guys know what parental alienation and false allegations are? No, we go back into the world that has this narrative against men, and they are looked at as guilty before they even speak. That's what many of these guys are facing when they go inside of these family courts. The second I walk in there and say I'm a dad, they say guilty. We know who we're talking to. We already know what you're going to get, and we already know how this is going to play out. And that is the sad, unfortunate reality for many of our fathers right now. And that's the way that the rest of the world treats you too. Now, let's take these guys that go through false allegations. You know what those false allegations are, guys. Sexual allegations, physical allegations, mental abuse, all these different things that they use against this guy to keep him away from his family, to keep him from being able to get anything going. Those are broken down dads who feel like they have nowhere to turn. That doesn't mean that they don't still try. That's what John Mass did. I've walked in those same footsteps down that same trail that father did, looking for justice. And guess who believed him? Nobody. We're the ones that didn't believe him now. Where are they? How many of them have apologized? How many of them have stood up and said, we were wrong? Because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. And I don't ever see it. You rarely see these guys come back, oh man, we had that one wrong. How many apologies did Jonathan Vander Hagen get when little Killian died after he told the family court that it was going to happen? Glenn Terry, he said, if you don't get my son right now, she's going to kill my son and then she's going to kill herself. Nobody listened. How many apologies has Glenn gotten? An apology. An apology's free. You don't need the family courts. You don't need no incentives or legislation to even get an apology. A kid lost his life. One of the parents got killed. Couldn't I'm sorry be the least that they could give? They don't even give that because we can't give no attention towards this issue, because if we do, it might show the Wizard of Oz. I want you to look at the Jeff Younger case. Can I speak about Jeff Younger for a second? Do you guys know who Jeff Younger is? I can be in a little hot water when I talk about this issue, but I'm going to. And I'm going to do it as much as I can. If you guys don't know about that story, you need to go to YouTube and you need to see what's going on. He has a 9-year-old son that since he was a very little kid, they've been trying to gender transition him. There's video of the boy saying, I want to be a boy, but mama wants me to be a girl. Now, Jeff, as a concerned father, a lot of us would be doing, says, I don't want my son to go through a chemical castration. I don't want him to go through that surgery. And he has very valid reasons. He said if he's older and that's what he wants to do, I don't agree with it. But we are talking about a kid here. The suicide rate in that community is very, very high. We're talking about a kid here that shouldn't be able to make those decisions, because later on in life, if he says, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I was 9-year-old. I mean, do we take the judgment of little kids like this? And I think they've been doing this since he was like 6 or 7, wanting to do this life-changing surgery to this boy, because they have this idea that he wants to be something else. Jeff has spent $2 million, close to $2 million fighting this, guys. It has been locked up in the political system, and it disgusts me. One thing I've been talking about a lot more here lately was the churches and the political system. And this is one of those cases where I'm really going to give some pushback towards them, because all of those churches there in Texas, anybody that's seeing that news, when it comes to Jeff Younger trying to protect his 9-year-old son, spending that much money, where are you? Where are you when he is going to court and getting in front of those judges and saying, I don't want this to happen to my son? If you do not become a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. Let me ask you a question. Would Jesus have been there? And I'm not trying to get all religious on you guys, but I'm just trying to point out some of the hypocrisy. Now, the politics, I see a lot of the politicians talking about that Younger case now, but where were you? And I want to tell you something. I haven't got to talk to Jeff in a while, but I've been to these political conferences where every little media outlet that he could sit on, no matter how big or how small it was, he sat down and tried to say, this is what's going on with my son and I need help. How many of those politicians actually stood up? He has interviewed tons of them. He's been there. He even ran for office. And guys, what happened when he ran for office? He only ran for office because he was trying to protect his son. The establishment, the party that he's supposed to be with, goes and puts millions of dollars behind his opponent because we can't get that guy in here. But why wouldn't they want to talk about that case? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what they won't tell you. Because that case is so sensational that most people are going to say, okay, there's something wrong here. We shouldn't be going through this. There is people that support it too. And I tell you what, that blows my mind that somebody would support that. But the ones that say they don't support it and they want to help out Jeff, why did they stay so silent on it? Why did the political system act like little scared cowards and run away when this got presented with this little kid and you ran for office to make this place a better world and to help out your constituents, and your constituent is coming to you saying, well, you do something, and you wouldn't do it. Why wouldn't they talk about it? Because of the family courts. Because one of the first questions that people are going to have when they hear about this case, as sensational as this case is how did it get here in the first place? Family court. The family courts protected it. Guess what they have to protect? The narrative. Guess what they have to protect? What's going on inside of those walls? Why don't we have cameras inside of the courtrooms? This is why. We're protecting the narrative. And if I'm a politician, even though I know, man, this doesn't look good, that I'm not getting behind this issue. But guys, well, you know the industry, and he's a very well-spoken man. If we get in there, he's going to start telling what went on. We just need to step away from this one. Let's virtue signal and act like, well, you got our prayers, you got this. At any point in time, there was a spineless governor. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to call you straight out, Abbott. You could have done something about this. I don't need to come in politic with you and lobby and say, will you change this law or will you do this? You do a lot of things now, but you could have done a lot of things way earlier on. This father needed your help. And if you can't stand for this dad that was fighting a battle like that, you can't stand for anything. And that goes for any of the politicians in this country. I don't care what color is by your name, what letter it is. If you run for to be a politician, to be a representative, to be a senator, to be the president of the United States, if you run on the premise that you want to help our people and you're not touching these issues, you are a politician. You are not about the people. We need people that have our best interests at heart. And I tell you what this country needs. It needs people that start running for it and they don't put any of those political gangs beside their name. That's what we need. We need to abolish these parties because, dude, these courts, this political system, it's getting worse and worse and worse, guys. I want you to think back 20 years ago. Would we ever think that we would be seeing some of the stuff that we're seeing now? It's the degradation of society. And what is the one thing that just keeps changing as society goes? More and more dads are being taken out of the house. And you want to know why? I've said that a few times, right? I'm a little fired up right now. Can you see it? I'm sweating. My AC's not working. But you want to know why? Because what I'm doing on this microphone right now, knowing that there's a lot of people that hate my guts, that don't want me talking, that don't want me seeing what I am, Eric's pushing back at the narrative. He's getting a little dangerous right now. We don't like him talking about this. That's because there's other dads out there just like me that will get on this microphone and they'll talk. And guess what? You know what I'm expecting next? Let's get into Eric's elementary school records. Let's get into his high school. Let's get into these. Let's get into his future relationships. Guys, I have my problem. I had my problems. I'm human. And guess what? They did too. Don't come in here trying to slag my character because let me tell you something. I raised two girls, beautiful girls. One of them's already graduating. The other one, I just gave her a hug and a kiss a while ago. I am a good dad and I know what I can do. But I got one I haven't seen in a while. And it was when I had to go into that court system after already raising some children and doing a damn good job, if I might say so myself, that I find out I got to go pay an attorney my hard-earned money that I was trying to raise these kids as a single dad to be able to go into this courtroom to say, can I see my daughter? At what point did we give the courts that type of power that they have the power to say when, where, how, and how much it's going to cost to see your family? When did we give them that type of power? Isn't that the reason that people left the country that they were in and came over here to America and made it in the first place? We need limited government. They're doing these things that is tearing apart our country. It was so bad that they had to lead a revolt and they had to come over here. Where is our people raising the red flags and saying, what's going on here? All of you guys that have been brainwashed, that have been duped, that these politics, that this voting system is making your life better. When did it make your life better? When? Because I don't see it. I keep seeing every day more and more things. I mean, holy crap, man. I remember when I was younger, 80 cents, 90 cents to a gallon of gas. And then look what it is now. A freaking dozen of eggs, $7 and $9. And you might say, well, it was better, several years ago when we was under the other administration. Fair enough. I agree. But guess what? The family courts was going just as wild then. Do you know how many of those guys that we talked to during that time and said, will you change this system? I have interviewed thousands of politicians. They can't sit there and look me in the face and say, we didn't know about it. You know about it. And I guarantee you, if you look somewhere down the line, there is going to be all these little special interests and they're in each other's back pockets. And the ones that are getting fugabooed is us dads. They think this narrative is going to keep us doing what we've been doing and that we are not going to stand up and that we're not going to fight for our children. We're not going to fight for our families. We are not going to fight for our place in society. And I tell you, you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. I'm so fired up right now, guys. If you are one of these dads that have been beaten up, you've been broken, and you feel like, I just don't know how I'm going to get throughout my day. I don't know how we're ever going to win this war. I don't believe this. I need you to wipe that crap out of your head right now. I was that broken man. I've been through a couple of divorces. I got a few different baby mamas. I went through it. I made my mistakes as a kid too. There is many people that would say this is the last thing that I should be doing right now. And the only reason I am is because I love those kids of mine. They made me a better person. I was not a very lovely person until that fatherhood came in here. It changed me, man. It's what matured me. And many of these fathers are needing that part of the process. They've got this love. They got this protection. They've got the want to provide for these kids. But then you're telling him that he's got to provide for this person over here that's got a new man in the house and telling that kid to call him daddy. How many of you is that your story? You're the family courts, politicians. You're telling me that's okay? You want to know when they have a problem with what we're talking about right now? When they are the ones going through it. How many of these do you know how many countless politicians that I talked to about it? That's something we'll take into consideration. Give me a bill. Let's study it. Let's do this. And then a couple weeks later, Eric, my wife left me. Or my wife accused me of domestic violence. The media went and talked to one of my exes, and now they're smearing my name. Oh, that's the crap that they do, man. They go and try to find something from 20 or 30 years ago. And dude, if you go into anybody's life, you're going to be able to find trash. Anybody's life. Why don't we, and I got to talk to the world right now. Which one of you on this show right now don't have some little dark secret or some history that you don't want out there in the public? I am a pretty open book. I talk about it because I don't ever want that to be used against me. And anything you want to know about this guy, I'll tell you myself. Some of it's not flattering, but there's other things. This is one of the most proud things I've ever done in my life because this isn't about me. You rarely hear me talk about my case. I am out here fighting for these guys because I am these guys. I'm not a leader. I'm not a politician. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an expert. I am a father. I am a hurting, grieving father that has seen your system for the way it is. I don't want to run for office. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be a millionaire. I live in a mobile home. That's it. Yeah, I've had people try to accuse me of making money. I live in a mobile home. And you know what? I'm proud of it. I am a hardworking, middle-class American, but at the same time, I am a father, and I will fight for everything I've got, and I will fight for being dad, man, and I will fight for these dads until I can't breathe anymore. I have pledged my life towards it. I have tried to run from this for so long, and I was like, God said, no, man, that's what I called you to do. I wanted to be in music, but now I'm sitting here talking to these broken fathers, and there is nowhere else, guys, that I would rather be. There is nowhere else that I would rather be. For too long, they have led us down a dark path that tells you that you're not important and that you can't do it. Do you hear me today? I want to speak that into you. Dads, you are important. Dads, you do matter. Your kids do love you. If they're brainwashed right now and it looks like they don't love you and that they're going to hate you, maybe one day they're going to see. And if you stay on in there and if you fight, if you come in here and you help us, could you imagine being that dad that everybody remembers in history? This is the time when they ended it. Now is the time that we end it. This is what you should be hearing in church. Let's be honest. Where is the preachers talking on this right now? Oh, they want you to pray to God the Father. We want you to make a home. We want you to make it to heaven. But we could care less about the home that you're living in right now. Can you talk about dads for a second? All these people, he talks too much about dads. I don't talk enough about dads. The world doesn't talk enough about dads. You made dads an ugly word. It's like an expletive. Don't even say it. Don't even mention it. And guys, it's half of the world. It's the other side of the parents. You can't have kids. You can't have families. You can't have any of this that we got right now if you don't have dads. Do you not understand the importance and what you've done with masculinity? Don't you want your boys to have masculinity? Don't you want them to believe in themselves? Don't you want them to be proud of who they are? I want to raise strong men that think that they can do anything, that are going to become good men, that are going to lead their homes. I don't want to raise boys that think I'm toxic, that I can't have any kids, that I'm going to be a deadbeat, that I don't know how to work. That's the crap that you're instilling in your sons and your grandsons and your nephews, all of their heads, when you allow this narrative to happen. And it's time for it to end. It's not going to happen in the political system, guys. It's just not. It's not going to happen in the court system. If it was going to, it would have already. It starts right here with a message like this. I look in that camera and I look at evil. You can call me anything that you want to call me. I don't care. I am not a bad father. I'm many things, but I am not a bad dad. And this is a dad that will fight. And I love my kids. I have my challenges with my kids, but I think every one of them knows I love them more than life itself. There is times that I've tried to be a dad and I wasn't allowed. They don't like my style of parenting because I don't want them to fall traps to the world. I don't want them to fall into those traps. There's too many of those traps. I don't want you having sex before you get married. I don't want you getting too involved with something or getting married young like I did and then making a mistake and going through divorces and having to do something like this, hoping that you can see your kids. I don't never want you to go a day without seeing your kids. I don't want you to go through divorce. And that's the reason that I do everything that I do for you, is because I love you. And because I know what that path goes down. I'm not here saying I'm a saint and I know better. You need to listen to this. I am a guy that's coming on this screen before these 500,000 people on Facebook and the other couple of 100,000 that we got on other platforms, saying I was a guy that messed up. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I did. And I've paid for those. And there's a lot of stuff I wish I could take back. At the end of the day, I raised my kids right. I love my kids the way a dad is supposed to love his kids. That should have never been taken away from me. And you want my relationship, the one thing, I could have made this show about anything. I had experience in so many different areas. I could have done it about rock and roll. We could have went about sports. We could have went about politics. I've done pretty good in politics, right? That's actually a pretty big field. Why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Because when I sat down and thought, what is the thing that means the most in the world to me? It was being a dad. That's why Dad Talk. You understand? That means a lot to me. And I want to fight for it. And I didn't realize just how bad you guys had it until now. I thought I was one of those Lone Rangers too. Everything I'm going through right now, I'm going through it alone and nobody will understand me. Do you know how scary it's been to do some of the stuff that I'm doing right now? Open up my heart, say some of the things that I'm doing that were locked down inside of me when I was going through this, saying, I don't know how people are going to view it. I don't know how they're going to try to portray it. And this, nobody else understands it. And then every time I got on there, the ones when I would worry and I would talk and there was these guys, that's me. That's me. That's me. I want you guys to understand how isolated they've made us be. I want you to understand the job that they have done, making you think that you don't belong and that you are not important and that you don't matter, that you might as well just not even speak because your voice isn't going to be listened to. Bull crap, man. You are the other half of this world. You are the leaders. You are the provider. You are the protector. You are important and we need you here. Moms, let me talk to you. For anybody that thinks I'm talking too much or I wouldn't fight for a mom just as hard as I would a dad. Yes, I would. But you moms want us to take up for you. Can I say something to you right now? How many mom pages, the ones that come in here, moms too. How many mom pages are you going to right now saying dads too, dads too, dads too? And that narrative is so big. It's so gigantic. They got so much funding and there's way more of them than there is for dads. How many times do you go in there and fight for us? If you want us to fight for you, you need to show a little bit of compassion towards my brothers in the fight that they're going in right now. I find it incredibly selfish when you can hear the wars that these guys are fighting, the money that they've put out, the bull crap. They're losing their lives fighting for their kids. And that somebody can still say that narrative of the deadbeat deadbeat and you're not speaking up. You're coming to the one page where dads are trying to say that they're deadbeats or that they don't matter. How many of the mom pages are you going to? Mom pages, I call you out. You want to come on the show? Let's talk. I don't have to do it like I'm doing right now. This is just the passion behind it. I promise you, you can watch several of my interviews where I just sit still and nod my head and say yes, but I'm not doing that right now, dude. This is my last big go of it, guys. I'm telling you, 2023, I feel like is the year. Doggone, it's hot in here. I don't know if you can hear the rain going right now, but my AC knocked out. Get those stars, get those memberships so that we can get this AC fixed. Anyway, guys, it doesn't matter. It's like every time I get on here, my internet or something messes up because it wants me to shut up. When I start getting into this mode right here, I start calming myself back down because I'm afraid of how you're going to take it if I'm talking this way. I'm not doing this to sound like a Pentecostal preacher. That's not what I'm doing. What you feel right here, that when I'm talking into the screen, when I'm looking at your face and I'm telling you you are important and that you matter and that I need you to get up and I need you to fight behind this war, it's because I believe it. Do you know how many capitals I went to, how many states that I went to that I had no business being in other than I was coming to help fight for you guys. I was coming to help fight for your families. There was many of them where we showed up with 2 or 3 people, man. And this is a war that we're fighting with millions. Where are you guys? Where are you? Now is the time. I need your help. When I say like, share, and subscribe, I don't just say that. I want you bringing people in here. They need to hear this. If we don't do it now, 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be that much worse. And if it keeps going the way it is, you're not even going to recognize this world, because the ultimate goal, we had the women that was on the page saying they're going to college. That's where our kids are supposed to be taught, so that they can go and get jobs and then they can go live the nuclear family without having to worry about finances or whatever. College was supposed to be a place that our kids went to better themselves. What are they having pushed down their throats now, which has also made it to the high schools, the middle schools, the elementary? You don't need a man. You're a strong, independent woman, and men have toxic masculinity. And I want you to understand something, moms. Moms out there that's got sons, grandmas out there that's got grandsons, aunts out there that's got nephews. They're saying that in front of your family, in front of your boys. They're saying that same message that they're saying to these girls, letting them know, happy wife, happy life. You exist to make her happy. They exist to make her happy. They're saying that in front of your boys. Now, how does that make you feel when you come in here? Moms too, take up for your boys. Take up for your husbands. Take up for the grandpas, because grandparents, you're feeling the pressures too. When your son is going through this, you're being alienated from your family. You're being withheld. That whole other side. Why? Where is the grandmas? Where's the grandpas? Where's the aunts, the uncles, the sisters, the brothers, the nephews, the nieces? We need you all in here. All hands on deck. I am calling a plan to action. This is not your normal talk show. And I hope you feel my heart more than ever. I've got myself physically sick to where I didn't know how I was going to be able to pay the next month's bills, because I believe in dad talk. I believe in it. And I was this close to walking away, man. That's how hard that fight gets. You sit there and they decimate everything about your character. They try to take away all hope because they don't want you to fight. I was this close to walking away, guys. That close. I will never walk away. I did have a strong woman in my life that believed in me. She saw the passion and she said, Eric, it's just a valley. I want you to stay on in there, man. I want you to keep doing what you're doing. I don't know why I was called to do this. And I want you guys to understand something. I don't want to be here. I never wanted to be doing this. I only wanted to be a dad. I was living a 9-to-5 life, running a route, working every bit of overtime I could to support my family. I was just a regular guy. The system made me this way. And guess what? After I saw what the system was and I went and tried to start fighting it, then I went to politics. I went all the way up to the president of the United States twice. hoping to just get a conversation so that I could speak for these guys inside of there. And guess how many people are willing to listen? None. None. They listen. But how many of you have we heard since then? Apologies to the few that have. But we need you telling your colleagues, it is a cesspool out there, guys. It is a cesspool. When you actually go behind the scenes and see what is happening in our political system, what is happening in our courts, what is happening in our world, it is a cesspool that is meant to take everything that you value dear, your morals, your family, and just. So if you ask me, the people that would think, oh man, he looks pretty crazy on the screen talking like he is right now, you should be doing the same exact thing. Because it's making its way to your family. I'm not trying to speak a curse on you. With the way the statistics are right now, with the way this is happening, it's going to affect every family. Almost in the world. There's a couple of countries that are a little bit more better with it than others, man. But when I'm over there talking to Australia, seeing that these dads in Australia got a system that patterned themselves after the States, and it's doing the exact same thing over there. In England, guys, it's doing the exact same thing over there. In Canada, guys, it's doing the exact same thing over there. Why? Because that's what it was meant to do. Canada, Finland, Sweden, Australia, UK, Japan, all these places that I've been hearing from. I want to help you, but we need you to help us. Help us form and help us get our voices loud. They think that narrative is going to keep us back. But I'm reaching out to you on the other side of the earth saying, show up here. You want a dad talk Australia? You want a dad talk Canada? You want a dad talk England? Dad talk today is for all of you already. But if we got to make certain chapters and we got to make shows over there to get you guys in here, and then we all form, we need you. It is time to organize. Does it sound that hard? Really? If you know the time zones and you know when to show up, how easy it is to show up, like, share, subscribe, and to show them he has backing. If not, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. If we can't get that, there's no reason for me to be here. None. But I believe in him, and I believe in you. Don't make me look like an idiot. Show up. Stop worrying about the memes, all the different organizations, who's going to get credit for it. That is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, guys, the infighting that happens. Mark Angelucci, I want you to look at that. It was another father's rights lawyer that went and killed him because Mark was actually getting stuff done, afraid somebody's going to get the credit. And I think there was more behind it, but I want you to think about that. These organizations, stop the bull crap, man. And I'm not going to feed you that junk about the political system and educating people that should already know about it. We've got plenty of education out there that if they wanted to know about it, they would find it. I've got several different strategies to implement throughout this year. And I'm asking you, I'm going to have an assessment this time next year. I want to look at it and say, did they listen? Because if they don't, unfortunately, I have to move on with my life. Maybe I got to go do something else, even though I'll never leave. I can't leave this, man. But this time next year, show me that you guys want it. You're not showing me. You're showing your kids. You're showing the world. Because when the people are out there speaking for you, they're the ones that's getting spit on and laughed at. They spit at Jeff Younger. They hit Jeff Younger. They rallied. There was hundreds of people out there to shut him up. Where was you guys? Where was our movement? Where? You want people to speak up for you? You want me to do this? Then we want to see it from you. Your kids are going to want to see it. Show them, Daddy. Daddy, I haven't seen my kids in years, Eric. I haven't seen them in weeks. I don't have any money. If you can hear me say this right now, you can fight. If you're one of the guys that's here, and I want you to go to one of the ones that might not know it's there and let them know it's here. I want you to get inside of the Dad Talk Today support group. Check that out. We have a support group. Guess how much it costs you? Nothing. Nothing. Who can talk there? Anybody can talk there. We want you in there, and we want you having these conversations. There's a lot of people, once they get past their situation, they think, I don't have to worry about this anymore. I can just stroll right on. Yes, you can. Don't think that cycle can't repeat itself when it makes its way to your kids and your grandkids. Let me tell you something, Dad. You need to turn your ass back around and get back in this movement. Every single person, grandma, grandpa, all of you, we need you here. We just do. And if you love your kids, if you love this world and you want to leave a better generation for the ones that are going to be after us, you better listen to the dad talk I did today. I've told you how to support the show. You know I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So let's see if you show up. I don't have to go through all that on how you can support, what you can do. This whole show has been trying to breathe life into this movement. We can't even call it a movement. Where has the movement been? Where is our people? And them telling you not to talk about dads. Could you imagine them looking at Martin Luther King saying, if you want to help the black race, don't talk about black people. In this movement where fathers are getting killed, they're getting tortured, man. They really are getting tortured in every single way. Don't talk about dads because nobody has sympathy for dads. Martin Luther King, don't talk about black people. Dad talk, don't talk about dads. Do you realize the baloney that has been happening here, guys? Baloney, salami, turkey, ham. It is a bunch of crap, dude. Speak about it. Can you in the comment right now say dad? Can you say fathers? Can you do me a favor? Can you say men are good? Dads are good. Dads matter. You are important. You are important. Stop committing suicide, guys. Stop committing suicide. You politicians that get up there and talk about these veterans while they're dropping like flies. They're losing their families while they're fighting wars for us overseas. And then they have to fight you to get their benefits later on because you try to, don't tell me that you care about veterans when you don't even look at this issue. Do you not realize this is probably one of the biggest issues affecting our military? Guys who are losing their families because they're overseas fighting for us. You don't have any protection from them inside of this family court. You want PTSD to be used against them when they come back home to see their kids. That's the first thing that they're going to deal with when they walk in their house from being overseas is I got an empty house and now I've got to pay for it. And this service that I just sacrificed so that we can be free is going to be used against me. You don't care about the veterans, man. You don't. It is a crock of crap, guys. Crap. So excuse me if I don't believe that the political system or the courts are the way. I believe they need to be torn down and rebuilt. There is going to be some of these children, and it sucks so bad that I have to speak about the false allegations and the things that's going on with our guys so much because there are kids that this is happening to. And if there is a kid that has a parent that's abusing them, there is no justice great enough, man. And that's why these narratives are so deadly. They know most people are going to feel that way. So if I use that narrative against you, nobody's going to want to support you. There are kids that this is happening to, and I want to fight for you little babies too. I want to fight for you little girls and you little boys. I want to fight for you just as much. Unfortunately, this system let it get to a point that we don't know who's who. It's wolves in sheep's clothing. You don't know who to go to ask for help, and you don't know who is making money off of it. That's just how it is. When you break this system down and you see how far down the rabbit hole goes and you see how many people got their hands on this, how many people are making money on it. Guys, I do this every day. And I'm serious. From the time I wake up till the time I go to sleep, I learn more and more how the system profits every day. I can never sit down on one episode and say, this is everything that's going on. No, it would take years. It goes deep. And you can sit there and you can tell people statistics until you're blue in the face. You can't make people hear something that they don't want to hear. The narrative is too strong. Until we fight the narrative, we will be where we're at right now. Do you understand me? If you don't fight the narrative, dads, if you don't start saying that you are important, if you don't start taking back your homes, that we're not going to get anywhere. Moms, grandmas, all of you that believe in the nuclear family and you believe in this world and you want to see it be good for your kids, you got to understand something. If you don't start taking up for your men, we're not going to have anywhere left, or it's going to be something that you don't recognize. Don't we want our boys? Don't we want our men proud to be men? They should be proud of themselves. We're sitting back letting people tell them that they don't matter and that they're not important and that they're toxic. Was your dad that way? There's a lot of people. My dad wasn't present. But you know what? For the ones that had their dad there, that was allowed to be dad, that gave them that structure, that gave them that family, I want to ask you, what would your life have been like if he wasn't there? Many of you, well, I was successful. I didn't have my dad. You don't know how much more successful you could have been if he was there. Maybe there was a point where he didn't need to be there. There might have been a point where mom didn't need to be there. There's always going to be exceptions, guys. But I have to believe for the majority of the time that mom and dad, the two people that came together and made this child that's going to have that vested interest in want to love, want to be a parent, I have to believe that both is best, because that's who brought that child in here in the first place. Why are you telling one half of their creator that they don't matter? God made it that way for a reason, for a man and a woman to have kids. Why are we only saying, hey, churches, did you hear that? God made it that way for a reason, for a man and a woman, Adam and Eve, to have kids. He did that for a reason. Why aren't you talking about the other half inside of those churches? Are you that afraid? Are you that afraid? Inside those churches, inside those courts, inside this political system, we have a bunch of cowards. Bunch of cowards. Dads, take back over your households. Take back over the narrative. They're wanting to take you out, and I'm going to tell you, they've done a really good job of it. But it ain't stopping me. It shouldn't stop you. I might be in here burning my butt off. There's challenges that come out at me every single day for doing what we're doing right here. There's going to be somebody that's going to take clips of these, try to make their little narratives and do everything that they can do because they need that narrative to exist. They need us to shut up. This thing would be a lot easier to fight if you was in here with us. Doggone, man. Shoo, I do look like a preacher. That's what it looked like when I was growing up. That's what it looked like. I guess I got it honest. I said I'd never be in the ministry. I don't know what the hell you call this. I call it what us dads were called to do in the first place. And they need to have a little encouragement instilled in them at this time. I love you guys. I love you guys. That's what I'm ready to do. Are you okay with me talking like I did today? If not, don't watch me, because it's who I am. There's no charades here. No charades. Just passion. Just passion. And rain. If you can hear that, I'm surprised my internet hasn't kicked out. So before it does, tomorrow, I want to meet with another guy that a lot of people have taken wrong. He had a page, I won't say the actual name, F Child Support. Refers to people like these moms that can do these things, that knowingly make these false accusations in the things they do. Baby mama terrorists. And on the outside of that, I wouldn't talk to him in the past because it's like, man, that just doesn't look good. But the more I listened to what he was saying, stop judging books by the cover and listen to the substance. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from Larnell. I really do. And you need to hear what's going on in his community. I'm going to tell you, unless you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes, unless you're going down those alleys and walking those streets, and that's another thing the politicians won't do. I've been out there on them streets. Where were you? Those are the people that you're asking for their votes, and you can't even go talk to them. That's the cowardly world that we live in right now. And he is a warrior. And I want you to hear what he's got to say. So we're going to have that conversation at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And I hope we break records, man. I hope we see you guys here because I gave it everything I got today. And that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you, guys. Hey, everybody. Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and